Hi kids, how are you today? Today we are going to finish up chapter 4, and just to get you excited, the end is near because chapter 5 is the last chapter of the book. So we were right in the middle of chapter 4 when Von Rottweil was in no hurry. He had been waiting for this prize for years. You ready? Settle in. Just then, a shadow passed over the evil doctor. It was followed by something he wasn't expecting. An ear-piercing screech. It could only mean one thing. The huge wings of Beatrice were soaring overhead. With mighty downstrokes, the pteranodon streaked higher and higher into the protective cloak of the clouds above the airship. "Don't fire!" Von Rottweil ordered. "The mini-poons might hit the balloon. I need that airship." Riding on the back of the great flying reptile, Louise and Basil held on tightly. Beatrice spread her wings wide, silently riding a thermal updraft, while Louise waited for the right moment. "Now, Bee!" Louise shouted. "Dive!" Beatrice folded her giant wings in and stretched her head down. Zoom! They plummeted at rocket speed. The sound of air whooshing past them was almost deafening. Louise had to shout as loud as she could for Beatrice to hear her. "Swoop, Bee! Swoop!" Swoop! And with that, Beatrice approached the airship. She spread her wings again as she headed toward the professor's boat. Then she opened her great beak. It was lined with razor-sharp teeth. Beatrice swooped under the airship at lightning speed, catching all the lines in her beak. Snap! She easily sliced all of them as she swooped back to the clouds. As the taut ropes suddenly broke, the airship jolted upwards. See, because it's free now. Up it goes. Von Rottweil's eyes narrowed in fury. He had lost the element of surprise. Now he watched his prize escaping. "Reload and fire!" he shouted. "Don't let him get away!" "What about the children, Herr Doctor?" the henchman asked. "There is no shortage of children in the world," Von Rottweil snarled. "They are expendable. Shoot them down!" Once the airship was free, the professor regained his composure. Like a chess master who had been paralyzed by an unforeseen move, he took a deep breath and calmly assessed the situation. What should his next move be? He would not allow anger to cloud his judgment. "You had your shot, Von Rottweil," he shouted through gritted teeth, "but you will not get another." Oh, he's prepared. Then, forcing a smile, the professor began to hum, quietly at first, then louder. It was the same mysterious tune that Basil had whistled from his window in the lighthouse. Turning the wheel once again, the professor pulled some levers and flipped a panel of switches. He chose a bold move in return. Rather than steer away from the conflict, the ship creaked and groaned under the strain of bringing it into a steep descent. Descent means it's going down. "Herr Doctor," the henchman stammered as a stark surprise turned into fear. "He's heading directly toward us." Von Rottweil cast his emotionless, steely glare at the rapidly approaching airship. "What are you up to, McCookin?" Meanwhile, high above the action, Basil turned to look back. "Louise!" Basil cried out in alarm. He's steering the ship right at them." Knowing the professor as well as she did, Louise tried to lessen Basil's fears, and her own. "He knows what he's doing, I hope." What is he doing? I wonder. "What is the professor's plan?" The airship was approaching too fast now for the robots to track it and make an accurate shot. The professor knew that Von Rottweil had only one option. The professor planned to use it to his advantage, but he had to time his move precisely. "We must bring down the airship without ruining it. The professor cannot get away. He will bring back the forces of Helios. Fire at will!" he shouted down to his army. With that, the robots filled the air with mini-poons. Von Rottweil hoped that some would hit. By now, the airship was at treetop level. Just as the mini-poons fired, the professor shot a mooring hook at the tall, thick fir tree. As the hook wrapped around the tree, so a mooring hook is like an anchor. So he threw an anchor out around a tree so he wouldn't go anywhere. As the hook wrapped around the tree, the professor quickly secured the line, forcing the airship to take a sharp turn and spin around the tree. As it spun, Minipoon after Minipoon sailed past harmlessly. "What is he doing?" Von Rottweil said aloud. He hesitated for a moment. "What is his plan?" Whoosh! The airship spun full circle around the tree, picking up even more speed. The sweet sound of music began to fill the air. Sweat broke out on Von Rottweil's face. "Reload! We must bring down that!" In mid-sentence, the horrible doctor stopped. A trapdoor had sprung open under the bow of the ship. What is that? Can you imagine that just popping out of the bottom of a boat? What do you think that is? Any guesses? I don't know. Pretty interesting. I didn't expect that, did you? Let's see what it does. Whoa. Look at that. He instantly understood that his moment of hesitation was all the time the professor had needed. Von Rottweil's commanding presence waned as his eyes widened in terror. "Oh no," he whispered, "not the thermoblatt." A grim smile spread across Louise's face. She turned to Basil and sharply ordered, "Hold on tight. The shockwave is going to—" But before she could finish, the great airship blasted up past them, traveling backwards faster than Basil could blink. Feeling an invisible force heaving them up from below, Basil held on as they began to follow the airship's path, higher and higher. After 2 minutes, Louise allowed Beatrice to slow down and glide on her own. Looking below from the safety of the pteranodon's wings, all Basil and Louise could see was a billowing cloud of smoke and dust. The black haze obscured everything on the ground for miles around. "What on earth just happened?" Basil asked. "Hopefully," Louise replied gently, "the end of Von Rottweil's plans." Just as quickly as it had started, the battle was over. An eerie silence replaced the frantic din of warfare. Professor McGuckin signaled Louise to bring Beatrice closer to the airship. With a gentle tug of the reins, Louise steered her mighty pet to slowly glide to the port side of the ship, matching its speed. "Basil," the professor called in his soothing baritone. "Come, dear boy, it's long past time to get you home." Basil looked down at the destruction below. Clouds of dust were settling. What was a formidable armament factory just minutes ago had been laid waste, along with Von Rottweil's plans to rule the world with his mechanical? I'm not sure. That's a tricky word for me. Mechanized army. The devastation appeared to be complete. So that means everything was destroyed pretty well. "What was that, Professor?" Basil asked, still not quite believing what he had just witnessed. "It's called a thermoblatt. It's a weapon I invented that operates on sound waves rather than explosives, and I'm afraid it's all I can tell you about it, except that this is just a small one. The big ones are part of the defense system of Helios. The less you know about this, the safer you and the rest of civilization will be." "But I don't understand, Professor. How did you make that happen?" "Oh, I suppose it's safe enough to tell you one little thing. Let's just say that it's all in the music, dear boy," he said with a huge grin. "It's the music of the spheres. It's the harmony of joy that emanate from magnetic fields of notes in the 9th dimension. They move every time you smile, and in your case, whistle a tune. It's the reason music makes you feel so good. Magic, isn't it? Today, it's one of our secrets, laddie, but someday..." The professor turned his attention to Louise. "And you, my mischievous young lady, need to get back to Helios." "Yes, sir," she said unhappily, but she perked up when a new idea crossed her agile mind. "Can we take Basil to see Monkey Island? It's on the way back." The professor sighed. "Where is that boy, anyway?" For a split second, they were terribly frightened. Had they lost him? But then they spotted Basil. He was curled up in a spool of rope and had fallen fast asleep. Because it was quite an adventure for just an ordinary boy, and it was extraordinary adventure. So he was clearly worn out. I think he's had enough for now, Laddie Louise, the professor said kindly. Maybe some other time. Now you and Beatrice get home. Your parents are probably worried to death. Your mother and the other High Council leaders will want to know every detail. But, Professor, can I ask you one last question? Go ahead, Louise. How did you find him? Basil, I mean. How did you know? Ha ha, said McGookin, laughing out loud. He's one of us. I could hear it in his voice, Louise. The notes, you know. His kind come along every century or so. They don't come when you go looking for them, but they always come on time. Like today, eh? And you need to be off now. Okay, Louise said. Then, with just a gentle tug on the reins, she called out, Home, Bee. With that, the mighty pteranodon flapped her powerful wings and headed off. Beatrice's homing instincts unerringly sent her towards Helios. Like a homing pigeon. Remember we learned about the homing pigeons? So Beatrice has that same urge to go home, just like the homing pigeon. So no matter where home is, no matter where she is in the world, she knows how to find home again. As the great airship drifted silently away, a lone, tall figure stood amid the ruins below. Where is he? Do you see him? I don't see him. But you can always pause the video and take a look and see. Do you see Von Rottweil down there anywhere? Let's see if he's on the next page. Oh, ho, ho. He watched as they faded into the horizon. Curse you, McGookin, he grumbled. I will have my revenge. Ooh. And as you can see, it's chapter 5 for tomorrow, so I'm going to leave it at that and leave you in suspense. We have one little short clip left for tomorrow, and we'll see what happens with Von Rottweil. Have a nice day, you guys. See you later.